I arrived at my sister's wedding wearing the designer dress I'd bought specifically for this day. The venue was beautiful, string lights everywhere, flowers cascading down the archway. Then the coordinator handed me my seating assignment. Table 47, in the hallway. Not the back of the ballroom, the actual hallway where the catering staff was setting up their station. My entire family was inside at tables near the front. My sister's friends I'd never met sat at the main tables. But me, her only sister, was assigned to sit in a hallway. I stood there holding that card with the number 47 on it, and something inside me just broke. I turned around, walked straight to my car, and drove away. What happened in the 48 hours after I left that wedding destroyed my family forever. And I'd do it again. The drive home from Vanessa's wedding took 6 hours. 6 hours of silence, except for the hum of highway traffic and the occasional buzz of my phone lighting up with messages I didn't read. I turned off the radio somewhere around mile marker 32 because even the cheerful pop songs felt like an insult. My phone sat in the cup holder, screen flashing every few minutes with incoming texts, calls, voicemails. I could see the names without picking it up. Mom, Dad, Vanessa, Mom again, my Aunt Linda. More from Mom. I didn't answer any of them. What was there to say? That I'd spent $800 on a dress for a wedding where my sister had literally seated me in a hallway? That I'd taken 3 days off work, missing a critical client presentation that my colleague Marcus had to cover? That I'd driven 6 hours each way to be treated like I was less important than the catering staff who at least got to work inside the actual venue? The designer dress I'd bought specifically for this wedding hung in a garment bag in my back seat, tag still attached because I'd planned to change at the hotel. I'd picked slate blue because Vanessa had mentioned it would complement the wedding colors. I'd gotten my hair done that morning at a salon, spent an hour in the chair getting loose curls that the stylist promised would photograph beautifully. I'd even bought new shoes, uncomfortable 4-inch heels that I'd practiced walking in around my apartment for a week. All of it for a wedding where I'd been assigned to table 47 in the service hallway. When I finally pulled into my apartment complex in Portland at 11:30 that night, I sat in my car for 20 minutes, just staring at nothing. My phone had stopped buzzing around hour 4 of the drive. Either they'd given up or they'd moved on to celebration mode, too busy with the wedding reception to worry about why the bride's sister had disappeared. But what I didn't know was that my absence had caused chaos I couldn't have imagined, and by morning, a video would surface that explained everything. Inside my apartment, I peeled off the casual clothes I'd worn for the drive and hung the bridesmaid dress, the one Vanessa had specifically requested I not wear to avoid upstaging her actual bridesmaids, back in my closet. The irony wasn't lost on me. I wasn't good enough to stand with her bridesmaids, but I was supposed to be grateful for a seat in the hallway. I poured a glass of wine and sat on my couch in the dark, finally opening my phone. 47 missed calls, 63 text messages, 12 voicemails. I started with the texts, reading them in chronological order like chapters in a book about my own irrelevance. Mom, 4:47 p.m. Where are you? The ceremony is starting soon. Mom, 5:03 p.m. Claire, answer your phone. Vanessa is asking for you. Dad, 5:15 p.m. Your mother is worried sick. Where did you go? Vanessa, 5:22 p.m. Are you seriously doing this on my wedding day? That one made me laugh, a sharp, bitter sound in my quiet apartment. I was doing this? I was the one who'd assigned myself to the hallway? Mom, 5:45 p.m. This is so embarrassing. People are asking where you are. Aunt Linda, 6:12 p.m. Sweetheart, what happened? Your mom says you left? Mom, 6:30 p.m. You're being incredibly selfish. This is Vanessa's special day. Dad, 7:08 p.m. We need to talk about this behavior, Claire. This is unacceptable. Vanessa, 7:34 p.m. You've always been jealous of me. I should have known you'd find a way to ruin my wedding. I stopped reading after that one. The wine glass was empty and my hands were shaking. Jealous. That's what she thought this was about. Not hurt, not humiliation, Jealousy. I refilled my wine and opened the voicemails. My mother's voice, tight with anger disguised as concern. Claire, whatever you're upset about, we can discuss it later. Right now you need to come back. You're embarrassing the whole family. My father, stern and disappointed. I don't know what's gotten into you, but this display is unacceptable. Call me immediately. Vanessa crying, her words slurred with champagne. You always do this. You always make everything about you. I can't believe you'd ruin my wedding because you're jealous that I'm happy. I deleted each voicemail after listening, watching the number count down. 47 missed calls, 12 voicemails, 63 texts, all of them telling me I was wrong, I was selfish, I was jealous, I was embarrassing. Not one of them asking why I'd left, not one acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, there was a reason their daughter and sister had walked out of a wedding she'd spent $800 and 3 vacation days to attend. I fell asleep on the couch sometime after midnight, the wine bottle empty on the coffee table, my phone finally silent beside me. Sunday morning arrived with sunlight that felt too bright and a headache that felt earned. My phone showed 3 new missed calls, all from my mother, all before 8 a.m. I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table, staring at the wall where I'd hung a photo from Vanessa's college graduation. We were standing together, her in her cap and gown, me with my arm around her shoulders, both of us smiling. That was 6 years ago, before she'd met Derek, her now husband, before she'd slowly started treating me like an inconvenience instead of a sister. What I discovered when I finally checked social media would reveal exactly how my family really felt about me, and it was so much worse than a hallway seat. I opened Instagram out of some masochistic need to see the wedding I'd missed. Vanessa's wedding hashtag was already full of photos. The ceremony looked beautiful. String lights everywhere, exactly like I'd glimpsed before leaving. Vanessa in her dress, a stunning lace gown that probably cost more than my car. Derek looking handsome in his navy suit. My parents beaming in the front row. The bridesmaids, 4 women I'd met maybe twice, in their matching rose-colored dresses. I scrolled through reception photos, the first dance, the cake cutting, toasts from the best man and maid of honor. Everything looked perfect. No sign that anything had gone wrong. No indication that the bride's only sister had left before the ceremony even started. Then I found it, a video posted by my cousin Rachel, tagged with the wedding hashtag. The timestamp showed it was from early in the reception, maybe an hour after the ceremony. The video started mid-conversation, Rachel obviously filming secretly from her seat. The audio was clear despite the background music and conversation. My mother's voice, loud enough to carry over the ambient noise. Well, she's always been dramatic. Even as a child, if Vanessa got attention, Claire would find a way to make it about herself. My Aunt Linda's voice, uncertain. But Linda, seating her in the hallway seems a bit harsh, doesn't it? It's where she belongs, Vanessa's voice, unmistakable, even slightly slurred with champagne. She's never been supportive of my relationship with Derek. She told me I was making a mistake getting married. Why should she get a good seat when she didn't even want this wedding to happen? My father's voice, diplomatic as always. Let's not dwell on Claire's issues tonight. This is Vanessa's celebration. Her issues, my mother agreed. She's been jealous of Vanessa since they were children. Nothing we did was ever enough for her. She always wanted what Vanessa had. The video continued for another 30 seconds, my family discussing my character flaws, my jealousy, my dramatic nature, my inability to be happy for my sister. All of it delivered in the same tone people use to discuss bad weather or traffic jams. Casual, matter of fact, not one person defending me, not one voice saying maybe the hallway seat was too far. Rachel had captioned the video with the thinking face emoji and the text, "Family dynamics are complicated." I watched the video 3 times, my coffee growing cold in my hands. Then I did something I'd never done before. I started documenting. I'd spent 29 years being the family scapegoat without realizing that's what I was. the difficult one, the dramatic one, the jealous one. Every family needs someone to blame when things go wrong, someone whose reactions can be dismissed, whose feelings can be minimized. I'd been playing that role my entire life without understanding the script, but I understood it now, and I had receipts. I opened my laptop and created a folder labeled Family Documentation. Then I started going through years of digital history, text messages, emails, photos, social media posts, every interaction where my family had demonstrated exactly how they saw me, exactly where I ranked in their hierarchy of importance. What I found in those old messages would prove that the hallway seat wasn't an isolated incident. It was the culmination of 29 years of being erased. I started with text messages, scrolling back through years of conversations. There was the time I'd graduated with my MBA and my mother's congratulations text had been 3 sentences long, sent 2 days after the ceremony because she'd forgotten about it. Then there was Vanessa's undergraduate graduation, where my mother had sent a novel-length text about how proud she was, complete with heart emojis and exclamation points. I found the email chain from 3 years ago when I'd been promoted to senior account manager at my firm. I'd sent the news to the family group chat. My father had responded, "Good for you." My mother had sent a thumbs-up emoji. Vanessa hadn't responded at all. 2 weeks later, when Vanessa had gotten a job as a junior designer at a small marketing agency, that same group chat had exploded with congratulations. My mother had called it her dream job. My father had offered to take her to dinner to celebrate. I'd sent congratulations, genuinely happy for her, and received no acknowledgement. I found photos from family gatherings where I was consistently positioned at the edge of group shots, sometimes cut off entirely when my mother posted them to Facebook. Meanwhile, Vanessa was always centered, always in focus, always tagged with captions about how blessed my mother was to have such a wonderful daughter. There were birthday posts on my mother's Facebook. For Vanessa's birthdays, paragraphs about what a light she was in their lives, how proud they were of her, how lucky they were to be her parents. For my birthdays, if they were acknowledged at all, a simple "Happy Birthday, Claire," with no photo, no elaboration, no emotion. I found the text chain from last Christmas, where I'd offered to host dinner at my apartment in Portland, since I had the space, and it would save everyone from having to cook. My mother had responded that they'd already decided to have Christmas at Vanessa and Derek's new house because it would be more comfortable for everyone. I'd driven the 6 hours to their place, brought gifts, helped clean up afterward. In the family photos from that day, I appeared in exactly 2 shots, both times half out of frame. The documentation went on and on. Years of being overlooked, minimized, forgotten, dismissed. Years of my accomplishments being met with polite indifference while Vanessa's were celebrated with enthusiasm. Years of being told I was too sensitive, too dramatic, too jealous when I tried to point out the disparity. I'd been the scapegoat so long I'd started to believe their narrative, that I was the problem, that my feelings were invalid, that I was jealous and difficult and always causing drama. But the hallway seat had broken something. Or maybe it had clarified something. I wasn't the problem. I'd never been the problem. I was just the person they'd all agreed to treat as less important, and I'd spent 29 years accepting it. By Sunday afternoon, I'd compiled everything into a document. 53 pages of screenshots, photos, and time-stamped evidence showing exactly how my family had treated me compared to how they treated Vanessa. It was damning, undeniable. The pattern was so clear that even I, who'd lived through it, was shocked by the evidence laid out chronologically. My phone rang. My mother. I let it go to voicemail. She called again immediately. Then my father. Then my mother again. I turned off my phone and went back to my documentation. But what I didn't know was that while I was collecting evidence, my family was having a meeting about me, and what they decided would force me to use everything I'd documented. Monday morning, I called in sick to work. Marcus texted asking if I was okay, if the wedding had gone well. I responded that I'd tell him about it later, that I just needed a day. He sent back a thumbs up and told me to take care of myself. It was more kindness than my family had shown me in years. I spent Monday refining my documentation, adding context to each screenshot, organizing it by category. Academic achievements ignored, career milestones dismissed, relationship struggles I'd gone through alone, while Vanessa's boyfriend drama had been treated like family emergencies, requiring everyone's input and support. I found the text chain from 2 years ago when I'd ended a 3-year relationship with someone I'd thought I might marry. I'd told the family group chat that James and I had broken up, that I was struggling. My mother's response, "That's too bad. Are you still coming to Vanessa's birthday dinner on Saturday?" No follow-up questions, no phone call to check on me, just a reminder not to let my heartbreak interfere with Vanessa's celebration. 6 months later, Vanessa had broken up with a guy she'd dated for 3 weeks. My mother had driven 6 hours to Portland to be with her, had stayed for a weekend, had posted on Facebook about how hard it was to watch your daughter go through heartbreak. I'd been living in Portland, too. My mother hadn't stopped by. By Monday evening, my documentation was complete. 53 pages of evidence, organized, dated, contextualized. I saved it as a PDF and backed it up to 3 different cloud services. Then I turned my phone back on. 82 missed calls, 96 text messages, 23 voicemails. The numbers had grown exponentially. Something had happened. I opened the texts, no longer reading them in order, just skimming for information about what had changed. Mom, 11:47 a.m. We need to talk immediately. This is serious. Dad, 1:23 p.m. Your behavior has crossed a line, Claire. Call me now. Vanessa, 2:15 p.m. I can't believe you would stoop this low. You've ruined everything. Aunt Linda, 3:08 p.m. Claire, honey, I don't know what's going on, but your parents are very upset. Please call someone. I scrolled further, looking for context. Then I found it. A text from my cousin Rachel, sent at 10:34 a.m. Claire, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize the video I posted would cause all this drama. Your mom made me delete it, but it had already been shared. I didn't mean to make things worse for you. The video. The one where my family had spent 5 minutes casually discussing my character flaws and explaining why I deserved to sit in a hallway. Rachel had deleted it, but not before other people had saved it, shared it, spread it beyond her immediate followers. And apparently, some of those people had opinions about what they'd seen, and those opinions had reached my family in ways that made them very uncomfortable. I opened Facebook and searched the wedding hashtag. The video was gone from Rachel's page, but I found it reposted on a wedding shaming group with 40,000 members. The caption read, "Bride seats her own sister in the hallway at her wedding, then the family talks trash about her at the reception. Watch till the end." The video had 800 comments. I started reading. The sister was right to leave. Who treats family like this? This whole family is toxic. That poor woman. The way they're talking about her like she's not even a person. Disgusting. I hope the sister in the hallway sees this and cuts them all off. The mother saying, "It's where she belongs," made my blood run cold. Someone had screen recorded the video and posted it to TikTok where it had 60,000 views. Another person had shared it to Twitter, where it was being quoted and discussed in threads about family scapegoating and narcissistic family dynamics. My family's casual cruelty had gone viral, and they were furious about it. I found a Facebook post from my mother, posted at 9:58 a.m. Monday morning, already deleted, but screenshotted and shared in the comments of the wedding shaming group. I'm disgusted by the invasion of our family's privacy. A private conversation at my daughter's wedding was recorded without consent and is now being used to attack our family. The person in question has always been troubled and difficult, and we've tried for years to help her. Taking a private family moment and twisting it into something ugly is cruel and unfair. The comments on the screenshot of my mother's post were even more brutal than the ones on the original video. The person in question, like she can't even say her daughter's name. Troubled and difficult translation. We've been scapegoating her for years, and we're mad we got caught. The missing reasons in action. They have no idea why she left. I sat on my couch reading comment after comment from strangers who understood my family dynamic better than I'd understood it myself until Saturday. People who'd lived through similar situations. People who'd been scapegoats in their own families. People who'd walked away and never looked back. One comment in particular stopped me cold. I was the scapegoat in my family for 30 years. It took my sister's wedding, where I was literally forgotten, not even given a seat, for me to wake up. I've been no contact for 5 years, and it's the best decision I ever made. To the sister in the hallway, if you're reading this, you deserve better. You always have. My phone rang. My mother. I answered this time. Claire. Her voice was tight with barely controlled rage. We need to discuss your behavior. My behavior? I asked calmly. I'm not the one who seated my sister in a hallway at my wedding. That video was a private family conversation that had no business being shared publicly. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? People are saying horrible things about our family because of you. Because of me? Mom, I'm not in that video. I'd already left. The video is you and Dad and Vanessa talking about why I deserve to sit in a hallway because I'm jealous and dramatic and never supportive. You're taking it out of context. What context makes it's where she belongs sound better? Silence on the line. Then, you need to make a public statement supporting your sister. Tell people you left because of your own issues, not because of anything we did. This is destroying Vanessa's wedding memories. What I said next would end my relationship with my family forever, and I'd never felt more certain of anything in my life. No, I said simply. I'm not going to lie to protect you from the consequences of treating me like I don't matter. Claire, don't be dramatic. There it is, I said, feeling something click into place. Dramatic. That's your word for me when I have feelings you don't want to deal with. I'm dramatic when I'm hurt. I'm jealous when I want the same consideration you give Vanessa. I'm difficult when I don't accept being treated as less important. That's not fair. You seated me in a hallway, Mom, at my sister's wedding, and then you sat at table 3 in the main ballroom and told everyone it's where I belong. What part of that is fair? We're your family, Claire. Family forgives. Family also treats each other with basic respect. Family doesn't assign their daughter to sit with the catering equipment. Family doesn't spend the reception explaining why their daughter deserved it. So what are you saying? You're going to abandon your family over a seating assignment? I laughed, the sound bitter even to my own ears. That's what you think this is about? A seating assignment? Mom, I've spent 29 years being the family scapegoat. I've watched you celebrate Vanessa's accomplishments while barely acknowledging mine. I've driven 6 hours for family events where I'm literally cropped out of photos. I've listened to you tell everyone how blessed you are to have Vanessa while treating me like an obligation. The hallway seat wasn't the problem. It was just the moment I finally saw the pattern clearly. You're being ridiculous. I documented everything, I said quietly. Every text message showing the difference in how you treat us. Every social media post celebrating her while ignoring me. Every birthday, every graduation, every achievement. I have 53 pages of evidence showing exactly how you've treated me compared to her. And you know what's interesting? Seeing it all laid out, even I was shocked by how consistent the pattern is. Another silence. Then, what are you planning to do with this documentation? I don't know yet, but I do know I'm done pretending it's normal. I'm done accepting that this is just how families work. I'm done being the person everyone can blame when they need a villain. Claire, please. Vanessa is devastated. This was supposed to be the happiest time of her life. And I was supposed to be her sister, not a guest seated in a hallway, because I had concerns about her rushing into marriage with someone she'd known for 11 months. You told her not to marry Derek. I told her to consider waiting. I told her 11 months wasn't very long to know someone. I asked if she'd thought about premarital counseling. That's not telling her not to get married. That's being a sister who cares about her making a good decision. You were jealous that she was getting married, and you're still single. And there it was, the core belief that explained everything. In my family's narrative, I wasn't concerned. I was jealous. I wasn't hurt. I was dramatic. I wasn't asking for equal treatment. I was difficult. I'm hanging up now, I said. Don't call me again unless you're ready to actually acknowledge what you've done, not explain it, not justify it. Acknowledge it. Claire, I ended the call. Then I blocked my mother's number, and my father's, and Vanessa's. I kept my Aunt Linda unblocked, and my cousin Rachel, because they'd at least tried to understand, but the core family who'd spent nearly 3 decades teaching me I was less important, they were done having access to me. My phone immediately started ringing from my father's office number. I blocked that too. Then my mother tried calling from what must have been a friend's phone. I didn't answer. I opened my laptop and looked at the documentation I'd compiled. 53 pages of evidence. Proof that I wasn't crazy, wasn't jealous, wasn't dramatic. Proof that the pattern was real and consistent, and had been happening my entire life. What I decided to do with that evidence would either free me completely or burn every bridge I had left, and I was finally okay with either outcome. Tuesday morning, I woke up to silence. No phone calls because I'd blocked the numbers. No text messages from family because I'd muted the group chat. Just the quiet of my apartment and the sound of rain against the windows. For the first time in 4 days, I felt like I could breathe. I made coffee and opened my laptop to find 17 emails. Most were from my mother, sent from different email addresses as she tried to get around the blocks I'd put in place. The subject lines told their own story. We need to talk. This has gone too far. You're tearing this family apart. Each one framed me as the aggressor, the one causing problems, the one who needed to fix what I'd broken by having the audacity to leave a wedding where I'd been seated in a hallway. I deleted them without reading past the subject lines. Then I did something I'd been thinking about since Monday night. I created a private blog, password protected, and uploaded my 53-page documentation. Every screenshot, every photo, every piece of evidence showing the pattern of how my family had treated me for 29 years. I organized it chronologically, adding context where needed, highlighting the most egregious examples. The blog wasn't for public consumption, not yet anyway. It was for me, a record that couldn't be gaslit away, couldn't be minimized or explained away or dismissed as me being dramatic. The evidence was there, time-stamped and documented, irrefutable proof that I hadn't imagined the disparity in treatment. I titled it, The Hallway Seat, a case study in family scapegoating, and saved the URL and password in 3 different locations. Then I emailed the link to my personal email account with the subject line, in case I need this someday. My work phone rang. Marcus, I answered. Hey, are you actually sick, or do you need to talk about whatever happened at that wedding? His voice was warm, concerned in a way that made my throat tight. It's complicated, I said. Take another day. I've got your accounts covered. The Morrison pitch went fine, by the way. They loved the campaign concepts you put together. Thanks, Marcus. I owe you. You don't owe me anything. That's what teammates do. Take care of yourself, Claire, and when you're ready to talk about it, I'm here. After we hung up, I sat staring at my phone. Marcus had covered my presentation without complaint, had checked in on me without demanding explanations, had offered support without conditions. He'd done in one phone call what my family hadn't done in 29 years. He'd treated me like I mattered. What happened next would force me to either share my documentation publicly or let my family continue their narrative unchallenged, and the choice wasn't as clear as I'd thought it would be. By Tuesday afternoon, the video from Rachel had spread even further. I found it on Reddit, posted in multiple subreddits about family dynamics, wedding drama, and narcissistic parents. The comments had grown to thousands. People were dissecting my family's behavior with the kind of analytical precision usually reserved for academic papers. Someone had created a whole thread titled, "The Missing Reasons, a Case Study," using my family's video as the primary example. The post had 12,000 upvotes and counting. It walked through each statement my family made in the video, explaining how each one was a classic example of scapegoat family dynamics. Notice how they never actually explain what the sister did wrong, the post read. They call her dramatic, jealous, unsupportive, but they don't give concrete examples. That's because the sister's actual crime is existing as someone other than the golden child. Her presence reminds them that they're playing favorites, so they have to construct a narrative where she deserves poor treatment. Another comment that had been gilded 3 times. The mother saying, "It's where she belongs," is so revealing. Not, "We had limited space," or "There was a seating mistake." Just a frank admission that they genuinely believe the daughter deserves to be excluded. That's not about a seating chart. That's about fundamental value as a human being. I read through hundreds of comments from people sharing their own scapegoat stories. People who'd been excluded from family photos, forgotten on birthdays, blamed for conflicts they hadn't caused, told they were too sensitive when they pointed out mistreatment. People who'd gone no contact and rebuilt their lives. People who were still stuck in the dysfunction, reading these threads and slowly realizing their family wasn't normal. One comment stopped me. If the sister from the hallway is reading this, please know that going no contact was the best decision I ever made. It's been 3 years, and I don't miss my family. I miss the family I wished I had, but that family never existed. The real family, the one that seated me at the kids' table at age 32, that family I'm better off without. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I almost didn't open it, assuming it was my mother trying yet another workaround, but something made me check. "Claire, this is Derek, Vanessa's husband. We need to talk. Not about taking sides, just about what happened. Can we meet for coffee?" Derek, my new brother-in-law, who I'd met exactly 4 times before the wedding, who'd always been polite but distant, who'd sided with Vanessa about everything, which I'd assumed was just normal newlywed loyalty. What could he possibly want to talk about? I texted back, "Why?" His response came immediately. "Because I didn't know about the hallway seat until after you left. Because the video is making me reconsider a lot of things. Because I think you deserve to tell your side." What Derek told me when we met would reveal that even Vanessa's golden child status came with a price, and the truth about why I'd been seated in that hallway was more calculated than I'd imagined. We met Wednesday morning at a coffee shop in neutral territory, halfway between Portland and where Derek and Vanessa lived in Salem. I arrived early, ordered a black coffee, and sat at a corner table where I could see the door. Old habits from years of being ambushed by family interventions made me cautious about positioning. Derek walked in at exactly 10 a.m., looking exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with physical tiredness. He ordered something complicated with extra espresso and sat across from me, his hands wrapped around the cup like he needed the warmth. "Thank you for meeting me," he said. "I'm not here to be convinced to apologize to Vanessa. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm here because I've spent the last 4 days watching my new wife and her family lose their minds over a video that shows exactly who they are, and I'm realizing I might have married into something I didn't fully understand." That surprised me enough that I stayed quiet, waiting for him to continue. "I didn't see the seating chart before the wedding," Derek said. "Vanessa and her mom handled all of that. When people started asking where you were during the ceremony, Vanessa told me you'd left because you were jealous, that you'd always been jealous of her, that this was typical Claire behavior. I believed her because why wouldn't I? She's my wife. Her parents backed up her story. Everyone agreed this was just you being dramatic." He took a long drink of his coffee. "Then I saw the video. Actually heard your mom say it's where she belongs. Heard Vanessa explain that you'd been seated in the hallway because you'd expressed concerns about our marriage. Heard your whole family casually discuss treating you like you weren't worth basic consideration. And Claire, I couldn't unhear it. Why are you telling me this? Because I started paying attention after that, really paying attention to how your family talks about you versus how they talk about Vanessa. And I found things out that I think you should know. What Derek revealed next would explain not just the hallway seat, but years of orchestrated exclusion I'd blamed myself for not deserving better treatment. Derek pulled out his phone and opened his photos. After the video went viral, I started going through Vanessa's phone. Not proud of it, but I needed to know what I was dealing with. I found a group chat with your mom and your Aunt Carol. It's called Wedding Planning, but it's really just the three of them talking about you. He handed me his phone. The chat history went back months. I scrolled to the earliest messages from January, right after Vanessa had gotten engaged. Vanessa: do I even have to invite Claire? She's going to make it all about her. Mom: she's your sister. People will talk if she's not there. Aunt Carol: put her at a back table. Make it clear she's there out of obligation, not because she's actually wanted. I kept scrolling, my coffee growing cold, as I read through months of messages planning my exclusion. Mom, February: Claire asked if she could be a bridesmaid. I told her you'd already chosen your wedding party. Vanessa: good. I don't want her in photos. She always looks miserable in pictures, and I don't want that energy in my wedding album. Aunt Carol, March: has Claire offered to throw a bridal shower? Vanessa: no, and I don't want her to. She'd probably do it at her apartment, and it would be awkward. Mom: I'll throw it. We'll invite Claire, but make sure she knows she's just a guest, not a host. The messages continued through April, May, June. Every aspect of wedding planning included discussions about how to minimize my involvement, how to make clear I was there out of obligation, how to ensure I understood my place in the family hierarchy. Then I found the conversation about seating assignments from 2 weeks before the wedding. Mom: where should we put Claire? She can't sit with the family. She'll just complain about something. Vanessa: put her as far from the main tables as possible. I don't want her negativity affecting my day. Aunt Carol: what about table 47? It's technically still in the venue. Mom: perfect. That way she's technically invited and seated, but she'll get the message. Vanessa: LOL, is that the hallway table? That's actually perfect. Maybe she'll be embarrassed enough that she'll leave. Mom: we can only hope. I handed the phone back to Derek, my hands shaking. They wanted me to leave. The hallway seat wasn't just about space or seating logistics. They wanted to humiliate me into leaving so they could tell everyone I'd been dramatic and jealous. That's what I realized, Derek said quietly. This wasn't about you making everything about yourself. This was about them orchestrating a situation where you'd either accept humiliation or react, and either way they'd have proof that you were the problem they've always said you were. Why are you showing me this? Because I sat in that church and watched my wife marry me, while knowing her sister had been deliberately humiliated into leaving. Because I've spent 4 days listening to her justify it. Because when I suggested maybe they'd gone too far with the hallway seat, Vanessa told me you'd always been like this, that I'd understand once I'd known you longer. But Derek, I don't want to be part of a family that treats people like this. What Derek said next would give me a choice I hadn't expected, and what I decided would determine whether I fought back or walked away quietly. I'm getting the marriage annulled, Derek said, the words dropping between us like stones in still water. I stared at him. What? I've known Vanessa for 11 months. We got engaged after 6 months because she said she'd always known when something was right. Her parents encouraged it, told me I'd found a treasure, that their daughter was special. I believed them. But Claire, in the 4 days since the wedding, I've watched her lie to everyone about why you left. I've watched her mother send you emails calling you selfish. I've watched them construct a narrative where you're the villain and they're the victims. And when I suggested we should apologize to you, Vanessa told me you weren't worth it. He ran his hand through his hair, looking like a man who'd just realized he'd made a terrible mistake. I don't know you well. We've met 4 times, but I know you drove 6 hours to be at that wedding. I know you spent $800 on a dress. I know you took time off work. That's not the behavior of someone who's jealous and unsupportive. That's someone who is trying to be a good sister to someone who doesn't deserve it. Derek, you can't annul your marriage because of me. I'm not doing it because of you. I'm doing it because I just married someone who thought it was funny to seat her sister in a hallway, someone who's been planning your exclusion for months while pretending to be hurt by your lack of enthusiasm, someone who, when confronted with evidence of her cruelty, doubled down and blamed you for being sensitive. He pulled out a business card and slid it across the table. This is my lawyer's information. I'm filing the annulment paperwork today. Vanessa doesn't know yet. When she finds out, this is all going to explode even more than it already has. I wanted you to know before it happens, and I wanted to give you these. He opened his phone again and airdropped me a folder. Screenshots of everything, the group chat, the seating discussion, every message where they plan to exclude you. You should have this. I don't know what you'll do with it, but it's yours. My phone buzzed as the files transferred. 63 screenshots, evidence that the hallway seat hadn't been about space or logistics or even simple favoritism. It had been a deliberate setup designed to either humiliate me into accepting it or provoke me into reacting, giving them ammunition to justify years of treating me as less important. Why would you help me like this? I asked. You barely know me? Because someone should. Because I just watched an entire family systematically exclude someone while convincing themselves and everyone else that she deserved it. Because if I don't do something about what I witnessed, I'm complicit in it. He stood up, leaving his coffee half finished. I'm sorry you've been dealing with this your whole life. You deserved better. After Derek left, I sat in that coffee shop for 2 hours, staring at the screenshots he'd sent me. Evidence that my family hadn't just been playing favorites. They'd been actively orchestrating my exclusion while maintaining plausible deniability. The hallway seat wasn't a mistake or an oversight. It was a test. Would I accept humiliation quietly, or would I react, giving them proof that I was as dramatic and difficult as they'd always claimed? I'd failed their test by leaving, but in failing, I'd finally passed my own test. I'd chosen self-respect over acceptance. I'd chosen truth over their comfortable lies. I'd chosen to walk away rather than pretend a hallway seat was acceptable treatment. But now I had a decision to make that would either end this quietly or expose everything publicly, and what I chose would depend on what happened when Vanessa found out about the annulment. The call came Thursday morning, not from Vanessa directly, but from my Aunt Linda, her voice tight with panic. Claire, I don't know what you said to Derek, but Vanessa just called me hysterical. He's filing for an annulment. She's devastated. What did you do? I didn't do anything, I said calmly. I met Derek for coffee. He showed me some things. He made his own decision. What things? Claire, this is serious. The marriage was 4 days ago. An annulment will humiliate Vanessa. Like seating me in a hallway humiliated me? Silence. Then quieter. The hallway seat was wrong. I told Linda that at the time. But destroying Vanessa's marriage is... I didn't destroy anything. Derek saw who he married and decided he'd made a mistake. That's not my fault. Your mother says you're trying to ruin Vanessa's life because you're jealous. Aunt Linda, do you actually believe that? Have you watched that video? Have you seen how Mom and Vanessa talked about me at the reception? I've seen it. It's not good, Claire. But family is complicated. Surely you can understand. I understand that for 29 years, I've been told to accept poor treatment because family is complicated. I understand that when I finally stood up for myself, everyone blamed me for being dramatic. I understand that Vanessa and Mom deliberately put me in a hallway, hoping I'd be humiliated enough to leave, and when I did leave, they told everyone it proved I was jealous. I understand all of that very clearly now. So, what are you going to do? It was the question I'd been asking myself for 4 days. What was I going to do? I had evidence. I had documentation. I had Derek's screenshots showing premeditated exclusion. I had my own 53 pages of pattern behavior. I could post it all publicly, could share my blog, could add my voice to the conversation already happening about my family online. Or I could do what I'd always done, accept it quietly, move on, let them control the narrative while I disappeared into the background where they'd always believed I belonged. I don't know yet, I told Aunt Linda honestly. But I do know I'm done accepting responsibility for their behavior. Whatever happens next, they did this, not me. After I hung up, I opened my laptop and looked at the private blog I'd created. The documentation was all there, ready to be made public if I chose. 53 pages of evidence, plus Derek's 63 screenshots. A comprehensive record of systematic exclusion disguised as family dynamics. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Hope you're feeling better. Take all the time you need. Your well-being matters more than work. Another text, this one from my cousin Rachel. Claire, I'm so sorry about all of this. I've been reading the comments on that video, and I'm realizing I witnessed way more than I understood. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. A third text from an unknown number. Hi, Claire. This is Derek's lawyer, Sarah Chen. Derek mentioned you might need legal counsel regarding potential defamation from your family. I'd like to offer you a free consultation if you're interested. What they've done might be actionable. People I barely knew were offering me more support than my family had in 29 years. That realization settled something in my chest. The decision about what to do next became clearer. What I decided would either free me completely or burn every bridge, but for the first time in my life, I was okay with bridges burning if they only led back to people who'd never valued me anyway. I made the blog public. I didn't announce it dramatically. I didn't post it to social media or send it to the wedding shaming groups. I simply removed the password protection and changed the settings to public. Then I added one final entry at the top of the page. This is my documentation of 29 years as my family's scapegoat. I'm sharing this not for revenge, but for clarity. For myself, to prove I didn't imagine the pattern. For others who might be living through similar dynamics and need validation, that they're not crazy. And for my family, in case they ever wonder why I chose not to have a relationship with them anymore, the evidence speaks for itself. I posted the blog URL as a single comment on one of the Reddit threads discussing my family's video. No explanation, no context beyond the blog's own content, just the link. Then I closed my laptop and went for a walk. The notifications started within an hour. The blog had been viewed 200 times, then 500, then 1,000. By evening, it had 15,000 views and had been shared across multiple platforms. People were reading through my documentation, seeing the pattern laid out chronologically, understanding that the hallway seat wasn't an isolated incident, but the culmination of decades of systematic exclusion. The comments were overwhelming, thousands of people validating what I'd experienced, sharing their own similar stories, thanking me for putting words and evidence to dynamics they'd lived through but couldn't articulate, support from strangers who understood exactly what I'd survived, but also messages from my family, my mother, from yet another email address I hadn't blocked. How dare you air private family matters publicly? You've humiliated us all for attention. This is exactly the kind of dramatic behavior we've always had to deal with from you. My father. Take down that blog immediately. You're destroying this family's reputation over a seating assignment. This is unforgivable. Vanessa. You've ruined my marriage, and now you're trying to ruin my reputation. I hope you're happy. You finally made everything about you. I read each message once, then archive them without responding. They still didn't understand. They thought this was about revenge or attention or making everything about me. They couldn't see that it was simply about truth, about refusing to carry the weight of their narrative anymore, about documentation instead of gaslighting. Derek texted, "I saw the blog. I'm glad you shared it. People should know what you've dealt with. The annulment paperwork is filed. Vanessa is threatening to contest it, but my lawyer says with evidence of fraud in the relationship, it should go through. I'm sorry this all happened to you." Aunt Linda called. I answered. "Claire, that blog. Is all of that real?" "Every screenshot is dated and verifiable. Every photo is from your family's own social media. Every text message is from my actual phone. Yes, it's all real." I had no idea it was this consistent. I knew Linda played favorites, but seeing it all documented like that, she trailed off. "I'm sorry. I should have noticed. I should have said something." "You're noticing now. That's more than most people do. Your mother is threatening to sue you for defamation. Everything in that blog is true and documented. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation. Her lawyer will tell her that if she actually consults one instead of just threatening. She's talking about cutting you off completely. No contact, no family events, telling everyone you're not welcome." I laughed, the sound surprising both of us. "Aunt Linda, she put me in a hallway at my sister's wedding and told people it's where I belong. What exactly do you think she's threatening me with? The loss of more humiliation?" Silence. Then, "What are you going to do now?" "I'm going to live my life. I'm going to go back to work. I'm going to maintain relationships with people who actually value me. I'm going to stop trying to earn love from people who've decided I'm not worth it. I'm going to be okay, probably for the first time in 29 years. Do you think you'll ever reconcile with them? Not unless they fundamentally change who they are. Not unless they actually acknowledge what they did instead of justifying it. Not unless they can understand that scapegoating someone for decades isn't normal family dynamics. So no, probably not." After we hung up, I sat in my apartment watching the sun set through my windows. My phone continued buzzing with notifications. The blog had reached 30,000 views. Media outlets were reaching out, asking for interviews. Therapists who specialized in family scapegoat dynamics were commenting that my documentation was one of the clearest examples they'd seen of the pattern. But the most meaningful message came from my cousin Rachel. "Claire, I've been reading your blog and crying. I witnessed so much of this and didn't understand what I was seeing. I'm sorry I didn't speak up more. I'm sorry I posted that video without thinking about what it meant. But I'm glad you're finally free. You deserve to be free." Freedom. That's what this felt like. Not the angry freedom of burning bridges, but the quiet freedom of finally putting down weight I'd been carrying so long I'd forgotten it was possible to walk without it. Friday morning I went back to work. Marcus took one look at me and said, "You look different. Good different." "I feel different," I admitted. "I did something this week that I probably should have done years ago." "The blog about your family?" He pulled out his phone, showing me the page. "Everyone in the office has been reading it. If you want to talk about it, I'm here. If you don't, that's fine too. But Claire, for what it's worth, I'm glad you're standing up for yourself." "How did you know about the blog?" "It's been shared in about 15 family dynamics groups on Facebook, a few parenting forums, several wedding planning groups discussing what not to do. Pretty sure it's going to end up as a case study in therapy programs." He squeezed my shoulder. "You did good. You told the truth with receipts. That's powerful." The Morrison pitch I'd missed turned into a signed contract. Marcus made sure my name was on the account as lead, made sure everyone knew the concepts had been mine. Basic professional courtesy that felt revolutionary after a lifetime of my contributions being minimized or assigned to someone else. That afternoon, I got an email from Sarah Chen, Derek's lawyer. "Claire, I've reviewed your blog and the evidence you've compiled. If you're interested, I believe you have grounds for a restraining order against your mother and sister based on their continued harassment and the defamatory statements they've made about you. I'd like to offer you representation pro bono. What they've put you through is exactly the kind of family law case I specialized in. Let me know if you'd like to discuss options. A lawyer offering to help me establish legal boundaries with my family. Another person I barely knew offering more support than my parents had in nearly 3 decades. I responded, "Thank you. I'll think about it and let you know." What happened next would show me that sometimes the trash takes itself out, and the family you choose matters more than the family you're born into. Saturday, exactly 1 week after I'd walked out of Vanessa's wedding, my mother showed up at my apartment. I saw her through the peephole, looking smaller than I remembered, older somehow. She knocked 3 times, then called through the door. "Claire, I know you're in there. We need to talk about this. You can't just destroy your family and refuse to discuss it." I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. "What would you like to discuss, Mom?" "That blog needs to come down. You've humiliated us. You've made us look like terrible people." "I didn't make you look like anything. I documented how you treated me and let people draw their own conclusions." "It's not fair. You're twisting everything to make yourself look like a victim." "Which part did I twist? The birthday post where you wrote paragraphs about Vanessa and 1 line about me? The Christmas photos where I'm cropped out? The texts showing you ignored my graduate degree but celebrated Vanessa's job as her dream career? The group chat where you and Vanessa literally planned to humiliate me into leaving her wedding? Which part is twisted? You're taking everything out of context. Then provide the context, Mom. Explain the context that makes it okay to seat your daughter in a hallway and tell people it's where she belongs. She couldn't. She stood in my doorway, opening and closing her mouth, searching for words that would make this my fault, that would restore the narrative where I was the problem child who needed to accept poor treatment gratefully. "Your sister's marriage is over because of you," she finally said. "Derek filed for annulment because you poisoned him against Vanessa. Derek filed for annulment because he saw who he married. That's not my fault. Everything is always someone else's fault with you, isn't it? You're never responsible for anything." "Mom, I'm responsible for documenting the truth. I'm responsible for finally choosing self-respect over your approval. I'm responsible for walking away when you made it clear where I belonged, but I'm not responsible for your reaction to being held accountable. That's on you. If you don't take down that blog, you're not welcome in this family anymore." I was seated in a hallway, Mom. I haven't been welcome in this family for a long time. You just needed me to keep pretending I was so you could feel better about yourselves. She left without another word. I watched her walk to her car, get in, and drive away. My mother leaving my apartment for what would probably be the last time. I waited for the grief, the regret, the desperate need to call her back and apologize for having boundaries. It didn't come. I just felt tired. And then, surprisingly, relieved. Sunday morning, 1 week exactly after I'd sat in a coffee shop reading about the hallway seat, I woke up to a text from Rachel. "Family meeting this afternoon. They're officially cutting you off, writing you out of wills, removing you from family events, telling everyone you're not to be contacted. Thought you should know. Also thought you should know that Emily, Jordan, and I are refusing to participate. If they cut you off, they cut us off too. You're not alone in this." My cousins, people who'd witnessed the same dynamics I had, who were finally seeing the pattern clearly, who were choosing solidarity over complicity. Family I'd chosen being there when family I'd been born into walked away. I responded, "Thank you. That means more than you know." Another text came through, this one from Derek. "Annulment finalized. Vanessa tried to contest it, but couldn't provide evidence that I'd actually committed to a permanent marriage under false pretenses. The irony is that her own group chat messages about manipulating me into proposing fast were part of what convinced the judge. She played herself. Hope you're doing okay." The pieces of my old life were falling away like dead leaves. My parents, officially cutting me off. My sister divorced after 4 days and blaming me. The extended family split between those who believed the scapegoat narrative and those who'd finally seen the evidence. But in the spaces where that old life had been, new growth was happening. Work colleagues who valued my contributions, cousins who chose truth over comfort, a lawyer offering pro bono help establishing boundaries, thousands of strangers online validating that what I'd experienced wasn't normal, wasn't okay, wasn't something I should have accepted. Monday morning, 2 weeks after the wedding that changed everything, I sat in Sarah Chen's office discussing legal options. "The restraining order is viable, Chi-Chi," she said, reviewing her notes. "Your mother's shown up at your home uninvited. Both your mother and sister have sent harassing messages. Your mother has threatened legal action to try to silence you. We have grounds. Will it stop them from talking about me? No. They can say whatever they want as long as it's not defamatory, but it will stop them from contacting you directly, from showing up at your home or workplace, from sending flying monkeys to harass you on their behalf. It creates a legal boundary that has consequences if violated." "Do it," I said. "File the paperwork." She smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that. Claire, you're one of the clearest cases of family scapegoating I've encountered in 15 years of family law. The fact that you documented everything makes this easier. Most people in your situation spend years trying to prove the pattern. You have 53 pages of proof, plus witnesses willing to testify. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy." "You're not crazy. You're a survivor of systematic emotional abuse who had the presence of mind to document it. That's not crazy. That's brilliant." The restraining order was granted within a week. My mother was served at her home. Vanessa was served at her apartment. Both were legally barred from contacting me directly or indirectly for 2 years. Violations would result in contempt charges. My mother tried to call from my father's phone the day after being served. I forwarded the call log to Sarah, who filed a violation report. The judge issued a warning. My mother didn't try again. Life became quieter after that. No more daily harassment, no more emails from different accounts, no more showing up uninvited, just silence from the people who'd spent 29 years proving I wasn't important to them while being angry when I finally agreed. The blog remained public. It had been viewed over 200,000 times. It had been referenced in articles about family scapegoating, narcissistic family dynamics, and wedding etiquette gone wrong. It had become a resource for people trying to understand their own family dysfunction. And 6 months later, sitting in my apartment on a Saturday morning, I received an email that surprised me. The subject line read, "From another hallway sister." "Dear Claire, I was seated at the kids' table at my brother's wedding last month. I'm 34 years old with a PhD and a successful career, but my family seated me with children under 10 because that's where there was space. I left, just like you did. My family is now not speaking to me, just like yours isn't speaking to you. I found your blog and I've read it 17 times. It helped me understand that I'm not crazy, I'm not too sensitive, I'm not dramatic. I'm just someone whose family decided long ago that I wasn't important and finally had enough. Thank you for documenting your experience. Thank you for showing me that walking away was an option. Thank you for proving that choosing self-respect over family approval isn't selfish, it's survival. You saved me from years of therapy trying to figure out what was wrong with me. Nothing is wrong with me. Nothing was wrong with you. Something is wrong with families who treat people like we're disposable and then act shocked when we finally believe them. Thank you for your courage. It gave me mine. I read the email 3 times, tears running down my face. Not sad tears, relief tears, validation tears. Tears for every person who'd ever been told they belonged in a hallway, who'd been seated at the kids' table, who'd been cropped out of family photos, who'd been called dramatic for having feelings about poor treatment. I was free. I'd walked away from a hallway seat and found a whole community of people who understood that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is stop trying to earn love from people who've decided you're not worth it. If Claire's decision to choose self-respect over family approval resonated with you, hit that like button right now. My favorite moment was when her mother said, "It's where she belongs," without realizing she was being recorded. What was your moment? Tell me in the comments. And if you've ever been the scapegoat in your family, know that you're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about people who chose themselves and never looked back.